It was deja vu all over again. Randy, tell us why. About 6 years ago, Patrick Marleau scored a goal to make it 6-4 against Detroit. Guess what? Not only did he make it 5-4, he also made it 6-4 as the Sharks finally get another one on this road trip. Welcome to this edition of Pucknology After Dark. Most of the regular roster is back with AJ Strong and Chris JWS. That's right, guys. The Optimist is here. 1 down, 8 to go. We could do this, guys.
Don't stop believing there. I know you picked out your seats and everything, so
Optimus
you'll
Prime.
you'll be able to laugh at all of us when you have the most primo seat in the playoffs.
Optimus Prime back in the house. Meanwhile, this is the team I saw tonight.
Left Shark.
At least on defense, especially in the third period.
Oh boy.
That defense.
Yeah. Good evening, guys. It's been a while. You guys were missed, although Shalana had a lovely job filling in with me and Gentry. From
the video, she looked like she was being held against her will in some undisclosed location. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't control the technical side of things from the other side of the spectrum here. But it is what it is.
Well, let's talk about tonight's game, shall we? What an incredible and unfortunate group of events when it comes to holding a Sharks stick. Apparently, when a Detroit Red Wing holds your stick, you go to the box.
Absolutely.
How's that work out, Chris? I don't understand it. It doesn't make no sense.
That's not really all that new with Detroit, because, that it has always been one of their things, although usually it's been a little more subtle than just actually grabbing the stick. Usually it's been one of those, under the armpit kind of grabbing it like that. But, yeah, that had always been in the Detroit, in their little bag of tricks, but, man, it was just bad. And 3 of the 4 there were, I think only one of the 3 I actually agreed with there. Very creative officiating tonight. Seems like we're saying that a lot, but
Detroit, yeah, that is a problem. But Detroit got 4 chances on the power play. Now, give it up for the Sharks. At least they were able to kill off all 4. But the fact was, the Sharks had to kill off 4. And let's be honest, one of them, the Thornton trip, I'll give you that. That was a trip. The rest of it was sketch to say the least. No, Thornton, that was a trip. I totally understand that call.
It was.
He clearly grabbed the stick with his legs there. Clearly.
Yeah, with his ankles.
Right. In what was it, the Kaiser? He kind of just dressed that up a little too much for my thinking. Because sometimes that gets called both ways. Where you have the tripping call and the diving call just to piss off Drew Remenda.
No, that only gets called both ways if you're playing Vancouver, Toronto. Everybody else, that's always just one way. That's just the way it happens. It's interesting how reputations precede people. Mm-hmm. So some interesting plays tonight. I really enjoyed Tierney, especially the bank shot goal that he had. That was fun. Tierney seems to be kind of the... It's funny how Carlson was a shining glimmer of hope throughout the middle portion of the season, and it's kind of came out of nowhere, kind of as Hurdle did last season. And then over the, say 5 or 6 weeks, Tierney has just been the dude. And at least it gives you hope while we're stuck in Doug Wilson's reality distortion field. At least it gives us hope for stuff that we'll be seeing in the future once Thornton and Marleau are finally driven out of town by something else stupid Wilson says. But hey, I can see Tierney being the number 2 center in a couple seasons.
Cupboard is not there for sure. I mean, we need more, but it's not there. But the defense needs to be fixed before anything else, and it all starts on the blue line because that defense tonight was just comical at times.
Especially in the
third. Let guys just drive right in.
Especially in the third when you're trying to lock it down.
Yeah, like every other team in the league manages, while they give up a lot of shots with a lead, they at least manage to, keep them on the perimeter, keep them relatively not too dangerous, while we'll happily, say, hey, you want a 2-on-1? Go for it. Like, we just need one of our guys to get out of position, there you go, slip on by, cool. It's atrocious. I don't even know what else to say about our defense right now.
Well, we had the tire fire back in the lineup, and he essentially had the puck roll into the net in the third period, which hopefully that gets him a 3-game sentence back into the press boxes.
His name is not Mirko Mueller, so no.
But
in fact, they will probably put Mirko Mueller in the press box because Hannon screwed up.
Oh, well, yeah. It's like when somebody else gets suspended on the Sharks, we should suspend Rafi Torres.
Exactly. It's like the Rafi Torres of the press box situation.
Right. Absolutely.
And what about the stick getting lodged in the guy's shield in the first period? What was that about? We all know if that stick belonged to Rafi Torres, that would have equaled to a lifetime ban.
Yeah, that was funny, and later on, after they showed the replay of it, I guess there was an interaction with Pavelski and I forget who it was, but they were having a chuckle over it because, it wasn't really a high stick, which, shockingly, the refs didn't call a high stick. What a shock there. And
I actually could have understood them calling that there, if only for the fact that it looked bad.
Right.
I could have at least understood that.
I mean, the guy could have gone,
I'm dying. It's like a sniper shot me.
I'm going to pull Mike Ribeiro in Boston.
Hey, you know what? Before we go any further, though, I don't know that we really did mention it, but we're on another channel, a brand new channel for Pucknology After Dark. So if you do us a favor, even though you might have subscribed to Chris's channel or Eric's channel, the Puck Guy channel, do us a favor. You can stop subscribing to them and just subscribe to this if you want. Whoa. But we appreciate a 3-way here, as you can tell, since it's the 3 of us. So if you can subscribe to all 3. But from now on, this is where Pucknology After Dark will live. So if you want to get in on the chat's open on the YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any question or comment, by all means, please tweet us. As you can see on the screen that Eric just threw up, there's our Twitter handles, and if you can hashtag it Pucknology After Dark, which is something else we have to consider too, because that's just too long of a hashtag.
Right.
Anyway, we have switched channels, so thanks a lot for checking us out, and please subscribe if you would.
Absolutely. He pretty much stole the words out of my head, but there's all the info on there. Hashtag Pucknology After Dark, or at any of us, including the main Pucknology site. We'll be, of course, as the season winds down and as we get ready for the playoffs, just make sure to take a mental note of it all. So,
memorize it all. Give us a follow. We follow back. Mostly.
There will be a quiz later. Appreciation.
Yeah. You stalk us, we stalk you back.
That's right.
That's how Twitter works, right?
Right.
Right.
Hopefully nobody has to call SFPD. You know what I mean?
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
Hi-yo.
So Patrick Marleau, yes, he got one of them as an empty netter, but Marleau gets 2 goals. Couture got hurt, but came back in the third with a nice goal. We already talked about Tierney.
How about the appearance of Angry Joe and Zetterberg in the first. Boy, I thought Thornton was ready to go with old Zetz there.
Well, yeah, after Zetterberg holds Jumbo's stick, which of course I guess he was hoping for a 4-goal game from Jumbo or something.
At least a reach around.
Well, apparently I already got the reach around, and Jumbo's like, "Oh yeah, you want that?" And he goes, and luckily he got just called for slashing because he could have been called for spearing, and that could have been really bad. But then Joe came around and it was like pushed him as he's on his knees, like, "Hey, nice job. I hear you're opening in Vancouver soon."
Pushed him while he was on his knees. Hey, while you're down there.
After you do the reach around.
Yeah, I figured it was good that he got in a free shot there because it's like, if I'm gonna get called for this, I better at least earn it.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And good for him too, because that was a little bush league, but that again is Detroit and how they can get lucky with calls. And unfortunately, I think that either it's the original six, you're a Canadian team, or you built a Stanley Cup legacy, and that's how you're lucky to get all these calls. When you are a team struggling to get into the playoffs, you mean idiot for the Sharks are, who absolutely gets no respect whatsoever. You're going to end up, getting when you're complaining about calls.
Yes. Well, and let's shift gears and go back to the interesting thing that was talked about on Pregame Live. Brody Brazil brought it up, and if you haven't heard, he talked about Mike Babcock coming to coach the San Jose Sharks. Now, why the Sharks would want to hire the guy that mentored the guy that you just fired seems to be a little perplexing.
Well, doesn't necessarily mean he's the same guy, though. I mean,
I know, but I just think it's funny. It's kind of, if you get some water out of a particular. I can't even think of the proper analogy. Where it's if you take water out of the sink in the bathroom, it's not going to taste identical to the water in the kitchen, but it's going to be pretty damn fucking close. I mean, when you're drawn from the same tap, essentially, there's going to be some bleed over. If I don't know, if McClellan is not the way you want to go, I just don't know why you'd kind of pull from the the same group. Why not go polar opposite with like a Ken Hitchcock or something? Not that I'm advocating getting Hitchcock, but I'm just saying it just seems like you're kind of switching half a six for half a dozen, or six for half a dozen of the other. That's all.
Similar system. Your players already kind of know it, and I mean, as I said, you're no longer getting the protege. You're getting the master, who's he's won a cup, which are our favorite thing to say, but it is true, and he has won a cup.
He has won a cup, and that's the big catch. Is he's done it before. He's not just won a cup. He's coached 3 cup final teams. Obviously, he's known how to get it done. However, it's been 6 years since he's last coached a team that went to the cup final. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but that's also the last time that his team was in the conference final, for that matter, too. So you could say that maybe the players have their on their way down. Maybe the coaches have their on their way down too. I mean, is that something that you guys would want a chance at? I mean, the problem is that if you're going to fire McClellan, and apparently according to Elliot Friedman today on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, it sounds like that's what it'll do, just because Todd needs to figure out something to save his ass. I don't see it being a smart idea. I mean, are we essentially saying coaching was the problem this season?
No, I don't believe coaching was a problem. I would not, if it were me, I would not get rid of McClellan. I think it was something in the room. Jamie Baker alluded to it earlier today on an interview with American Puck Daddy, that it's a case of the players not trusting themselves, not trusting in each other, at least how he sees it. And it wouldn't, it doesn't surprise me being the truth, but how could it not be when you look at this defense? If you were a forward on this team, do you think you would trust the defense to make the right play and get the puck out instead of having to hustle back and cover for him? How many times we saw this a few seasons ago where players that normally put up more, they usually put up more points, and they were underneath their average because they were having to spend so much time having to skate back and help out this just absolutely abhorrent D that Wilson continues to put together.
Well, I think if McClellan is fired, it'll be more as a sacrificial lamb. I tend to fall into the camp I don't think he'll get fired, because I think Doug Wilson, he did try to set expectations a little lower this season through some of his comments, way back when. And I think he already planned, he already kind of knew this is probably not going to go well this year. So I think the only way McClellan gets fired is as okay, fans want blood. I'll throw out some fresh meat out there to make it look like we're really doing something substantial. When I would argue, actually, that's probably going to be a step back unless you can get Mike Babcock or someone who is really legit. Would be a favorite word, but I think that's the case. I think the biggest problem with this team falls at Wilson's own doorstep, as you mentioned, with this absolutely pathetic defense he's put together, or I say the pathetic blue line he's put together.
Yeah, it would bother me to see McClellan pay the price for Wilson's mistakes and incompetence.
Right.
And it might happen if fans are screaming loud enough.
But I can't see. I think a lot more fans are smarter than to see McClellan get fired. I haven't.
Have you checked Twitter? I
haven't seen that much of McClellan getting fired as opposed to Elliott getting fired. I mean, it's obvious he had nothing in the minor league system. So number one, he shouldn't start a rebuild right now. Number two, yeah, the blue line sucks. I mean, you should have done something in the offseason rather than go out and sign John frickin' Scott at $750,000. But exactly. No, we didn't do that. So there's 2 strikes on Dougie. And number 3, you didn't bring in anybody worthwhile because, we're going young. Well, guess what? You're not gonna find young people, young defensemen out there to grab. You have to get somebody veteran. And you don't sign Scott Hannon. Are you kidding me? Really? Scott Hannon's the best thing you can find? You got some problems then. Oh, and number 4, how about your scouting staff, who was a former defenseman himself, along with the GM that's a former defenseman, to scout some decent defensemen to get into our system so Roy Sommer can fuck them shit.
Well, and you know what? A great point made on Twitter from Jenny Hockey, who tweeted in on hashtag Pucknology After Dark. Firing McClellan would be akin to firing Alain Vigneault. Great coach, but scapegoat. And that's exactly true. Vancouver completely scapegoated him because they wanted to. Well, part of it, I'm quite sure, was because they locked themselves into ridiculous contracts for those 2 sister kissers, as Eric likes to put it, those 2 redheaded ginger suckers. And then, of course, the the diving antics of a one Alexander Burrows, not to mention, keep your fingers away from within 10 feet of his face. Some of the shit that we've seen, even though Kessler's gone at this point. Kessler could be kind of a cheap shot piece of shit. Edler could pull some shit from here and there. Bieksa is a fucking tool. Like I've stated it before, I don't know what the hell is in the water in the Pacific Northwest, but between Seahawks fans and like Vancouver Canucks, the entitlement is ridiculous when you see how much their team cries and dives and gets away with shit and then when their feet are actually held to the fire, then they get all pissy. And it's, you know what? Fuck you guys. But Jenny Hockey has an excellent point. Vigneault was completely scapegoated in what happened. They ended up cleaning house, new GM, blah blah blah, and then you have the new coach come in and do just as well, which doesn't speak really high for Vignier, but look at what he's been able to do in New York, whereas Tortorella was absolute garbage.
And that kind of builds on my point where I said, like, I think McClellan's gone. I think if the fans scream for blood loud enough, and you know, in Vancouver, they scream for blood. Like, they want somebody. It wasn't as I don't know what the feeling was from the fans about Vigneault specifically, but they wanted somebody's head on a stake after several. You know, I believe it was after the Sharks sweep right there. They wanted somebody or something.
See, literally right after they lost to the Sharks 4 straight. Even the analysts were saying, and what will probably be Alain Vigneault's final press conference as Vancouver Canucks head coach. Here's Vigneault. It looks like he's been crying a little bit. And here we go. And then after that, it was just a trickle down of what everybody was trying to say. That kind of goes on to the radio point, which I will prep AJ for a radio rant. The media, maybe the team listened to the fans and media a little too much, and that's where they ended up going in that direction. While in San Jose, there's no coverage, so Doug can be like Cartman being, I do what I want.
Well, that, and also, I mean, he's definitely not going to be on the hot seat with ownership. I mean, unless we miss the playoffs several seasons in a row, I don't think he's going anywhere. Just some of the things I've heard. I have a couple of people I've talked to recently.
See,
he's not going anywhere. And actually, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you were talking about the fans wanting blood. Well, the fans seem to really want blood when Drew Remendo's contract was not renewed. And that pissed off a huge amount of the fan base. The addition of Ice Girls did not please a decent amount of the fan base. So a lot of the things that the Sharks have done have not pleased a good amount of the fan base. But they keep going, they keep plugging away. I don't know if it was
on the Ice Girls quite a bit though. They did they went from the full-on out midriff showing. They did loosen a bit on that because I think they heard some of the outcry there.
I look at it and I just go, what was the point? What was the point? There were a good amount of fans who took pride in not participating in that lame shit. Yep. So it's, and the best part that I think is that, John Tortora, scumbag that he is quoted as saying, I believe it was on Fear the Fin, something along the lines of, well, we hope that the fans give it a chance and they enjoy it, check it out for a season or whatever before you judge or whatever. It's like, okay, we've had a season, we don't like it, fucking get rid of it. It's
so, objectifying women might look a little bit different in this market, in this place,
like in the South,
differently.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like in Dallas, where it's almost like a glorified sports bra that they're wearing.
Yeah, they're damn near in bikinis in Dallas.
Yeah, but the thing is, I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg, and then next year, all of a sudden, it gets a little more,
And that's what I'm nervous about too. Is that this was a case of, okay, we've pushed the envelope a little bit. Now we're gonna push it even more, and come on.
And if you think it's crazy for just the NHL Sharks, wait until the San Jose insert your name here's come to town for the AHL team. Who knows what kind of ideas Tortora is going to have for them? What, dollar beer night?
Hell yeah.
See, I'd be down with that.
Yeah, dollar beer night at the tank.
But, you know how Tortora will find a way to fuck that up It'll be dollar beer night. You know what the beer will be? It'll be fucking like Mickey's. That's how Tutorial will roll with that.
Well, of course. So, getting back to the quickly about the topic
IPA, forget it.
about Doug Wilson and blood, I think it's time for something here. I think it's time for the false dichotomy. You know, I've introduced this many times before, but in life, there's a lot of gray area. Now you see, here though, when we're at the false dichotomy, there is no gray area. It's either one thing or it's the other, nothing in the middle. So, we're going to start with Doug Wilson first. And it's a matter of who wants the blood. You know, should Doug Wilson be fired or should he stay? No middle ground. I don't want to hear any agreement between you two. Eric, go.
Oh no, I think I'm gonna take this start.
Oh, okay. You get to start.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take this. You know, I was on the Wilson bandwagon for an awfully long time. I supported him when others didn't. I said, look at some of the moves that he's made. He's made moves. Better moves, or I'm sorry, he's made more good moves than bad, which is what you want from anybody. But looking back and looking at a little bit more history, what has he done just in this last year? He's let Boyle walk without replacing him. He's forced McClellan to put Burns at D because who the fuck else are you going to put on D? So he's pretty much forced his hand, kind of like Hatterberg and the A's if you saw Moneyball. His big offseason signing was John Scott. He's iced way too many rookies this year, including bringing Mueller up too fast, in my opinion. Created a distraction from the get-go by ripping the C off Jumbo. Then at the State of the Sharks, the get-together, he right at the point when the Sharks are kind of on this tipsy balance thing where they can go one way or the other as to whether they get in the playoffs, and he completely sticks his foot in his mouth at the completely wrong moment. And what did the Sharks go on to do? They went 1-4 over the next 5. They've done nothing but hamper Stalock. This is supposed to be a youth movement year. And for the most part, you've clearly seen that they've done that with the forwards, where you've had Goodrow and Tierney and Hurdle and Nieto and what have you. But what has he done? Stalock has gotten less starts this year than last year. How the hell are you supposed to be developing a guy like that? And then, okay, fine. If you're doing that because Nemo's your guy, why haven't you signed him? If that's the way you're going to go, and if you're not going to sign him, why didn't you get anything for him? Especially at a time where now the trade deadline is so goddamn late in the season that you really have an idea of where the fuck you're going to go, and you decided to keep.
I'm going to ask you to slow down for a second here, because remember, this is false dichotomy, not the AJ rant.
Okay, well, hold on.
You get around to it so Eric can call you an ignorant slut because of how wrong you are.
2 more points. All right. But just following up on what I was saying, how do you get young and do this youth movement when you keep playing guys like Hammond? And my biggest thing is looking back since Wilson has taken over, why does he feel the need to ice an enforcer every year? Scott Parker, Jody Shelley, Brad Staubitz, Ben Eager, Fraser McLaren, Adam Burrish, Mike Brown, John Scott. Why does he feel the need to have at least 1, usually 2 useless thugs on the Sharks every year?
We actually had 3 this year. That's a record, too.
Right? So that's why I'm finally on the Fire Doug bus.
Eric, you tell him why he is wrong. Go.
In 10 seconds or less.
AJ took all the time.
Thanks for watching. See you later. No, AJ, you ignorant, trashy hooker slut. How in the hell do you think that Haas is going to get on a plane from Germany while he's yodeling to cliffhangers from The Price is Right and is going to come over here and tell his other business that his general manager is fired? I mean, no. Doug's going to stay. Doug's going to stay. I mean, look what he's done to the organization.
You're not to say what if he should
organization.
He's got to stay, but why should he stay? Tell him why he should stay.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because he landed Joe Thornton in 2005.
10 years ago.
You know, I mean, that changed the franchise forever. I mean, he got Mark-Edouard Vlasic for a number 3 goaltender. I mean, come on, that's amazing. He's also done so many changes to bring up the roster, but it's pretty much the players' faults. I mean, obviously, in the end, because I can't hold this bullshit up, I see Doug Wilson staying in the Sharks organization. ... In a different role. Because heaven forbid they can't get rid of their first captain on the 25th anniversary team because they have to march him around going, "Hi everybody, hi everybody, I fucked up the franchise." You know.
So
I figured when you said different role, I imagined him down there in skin tight clothing, with on the ice there, taking care of this sleep.
He'll be in the no.
You know what though? I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, is he
guys, come on.
Great
He's gonna collaborate with Matt Nieto next year for the sequel to Holiday Sweat.
There we go.
I see Doug Wilson.
Question number 2. Question number 2, false dichotomy. And this one, keep your answers a little shorter this time, guys. But Joe Thornton tonight, in spite of the fact that the Sharks scored 6 goals, he had 0 goals, 0 assists, was a -1. And honestly, if I take the most pessimist view, he looked like he didn't care. And so, does Joe Thornton not care and should be out the door? Or is he like one of the best players in the team, most awesome Sharks ever? Whoever wants to go first, go.
I'll go first, since, AJ will, how much I know he hates Joe Thornton. No, I think, he has his off nights. I mean, the guy has been consistent, with skating hard down the ice and then stops and turns around at the top of the face-off circle to, hand it off to intercept it once the defenders get over there. He's definitely will have, his off games. Sure. I think maybe the whole Zetterberg thing might have, thrown him off a little bit too.
You really shouldn't concede too much there, because remember, no gray area.
Well, no, I know, I understand that, but I mean, my point is that he's almost deserves a night off here and there because he's Joe Thornton. He's saved this franchise on so many things. What? Before then, Marlowe was just like, oh, who's going to pass the puck to me so I can score? During our 10-game losing streak in 2005, nobody. I mean, he was trying to pass it back, hoping that Nils Ekman was going to pass it back to him. This wasn't going to happen.
I'm confused as to which viewpoint he took. Did he say Thornton should be here or not?
I said should be here.
Okay. I'm just making sure. You kind of lost me there.
No. Remember, there's no gray area in the false dichotomy.
Okay.
No, he should be here. He does have a day off. He does care about this team, obviously, because, so according to some people who say he was already asked to be traded, he says no. He wanted the no movement clause. He wants to be here. He loves it here. He would like to be here. He wants to score. He would love to bring a cup to San Jose. And it's a guy that the rookies can develop on. And I say he should have Chris Tierney as a roommate during the summer to have him pick his brain, because he's going to be the guy coming into fruition down the road. I mean, why not?
Okay. AJ, tell him why he's wrong.
Yeah, we need to get a timer on this now that I'm thinking about it. Like a little
I know. I do need to start timing you guys.
Yeah, a little egg timer. Okay. what? He was saying that he needed to stay, right? Okay, so I have to take the he should go position. Okay. Yeah, he should go. Thornton should go. He's had 10 years here. One of the biggest knocks on Thornton that I've heard from any Sharks fan is that he's a kind of a lazy bones. You see him out there. Now, granted, Thornton at giving 70-75% is sometimes better than other people giving 100%. And that's how good he is. Imagine what he would be like if he gave 100% every game. I would venture to say he could be better than Sidney Crosby. But he has the California laid-back mentality where it's, the game, we're up by 2, going into the second period. So I think, I can take a few shifts off, to be mellow. I can just do stride, glide. I'm all good. And he lashes out at people. That's Joe Thornton's problem. He intimidates the rookies. He lashes out, or at least so we're told by Wilson. And who wouldn't believe their general manager? So Thornton lashes out. It's that's a problem. You can't intimidate the rookies. You need to welcome these people in. Some people, even like Eric, need to learn how to use the mute button when they're going to cough. But you can't lash out at people. That's the problem. So I would say
just be passive aggressive like AJ.
Exactly. So that's the way to go with it. Now, okay. Do you have one more false dichotomy, or is that it? Because
I think just for time, probably I'm gonna go ahead and score it to. I'll call it a tie today.
Okay, I couldn't.
No one false dichotomy because that is gray area, but because I said so. So moving on. Next topic, I think we want to talk about what do we want to see for the rest of the season here from the Sharks, and this is not a false dichotomy topic anymore.
Well, I say you do the best damn job you possibly can. If you can reel off 8 in a row, go for it. I mean, why not? If you can pull it off, great. I mean, that's if you don't make the playoffs, you can kind of start a trend of getting on there for the following year. You can establish that footprint. It's like a tree. You plant the seeds and you just start letting it grow, and then you just add a little more onto it, and it'll just bloom in no time.
And this is where I disagree with you, because you should know better as a Niner fan. How many times have they screwed up their draft pick by winning late in the season when they were out of it? Over all those miserable years, it was inevitable. Like they had 2 or 3 wins all season long. They're saying it perfectly be top 5. And then be like, oh, hey, we're going to build on these last 2 meaningless wins and pick 12th. I'm not actively rooting for them to lose, but honestly, if they lose, I'm quite okay with it as long as they're getting their young guys out there, because that to me is the most important thing. Stop playing Scott Hannon. Stop playing John Scott. Get the young guys out there. Get them reps. Get them experience. I don't want to see those two either way, but especially now, there is no reason to play those guys other than to justify their paycheck. And seeing as our self-imposed salary cap around here, I guess we do have to justify the paychecks of everyone.
And for an entertainment break, just for a second, I'd like to do an impression for you. Stop playing John Scott. Stop playing Scott Hannon. Don't draft anybody with the name Scott in their name.
Yeah, seriously, just the whole name is cursed. I hate everything about it, except for Scotty Nickel. I do like Scotty Nickel. See the one Scott I do like right there, of course.
That's Brody's BFF. We can't mess that up. By the way, Brody.
Oh, I love Scotty Nickel.
Hi, Brody. We're talking about your BFF, Scotty Nickel. If you're free on Sunday after the game, just saying.
Brody's probably like, yeah, dude, those 2 hours that night after Pittsburgh were the longest 2 hours of my life. Actually, before we move on, I actually want to finish off not finish it off, but as a anecdote or endpoint to the dichotomy, how interesting would it be if Wilson ends up leaving, or actually, I shouldn't say leaving. How funny would it be if Thornton got Wilson fired? At this point, Thornton has 2 more years on a strong no movement clause, from what I keep hearing. This is like ironclad. This isn't you give me 10 teams and I can move you to. This is no, I'm not going any place unless I say so.
Right.
How funny is it if after this season, Thornton calls Plattner, whatever the fuck is the big
Plattner.
German, the absentee
Hey, respect
team
the
owner.
German names, man.
Yeah.
All right, calm down. I have a little bit of German in me.
Go
I mean,
far.
not now, not immediately, but I will in a little bit. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, I've got some beer here. Everybody calm the fuck down. I have some German beer. Relax. So anyway.
Hey, John.
Hey, John. So anyway, let's get back to this. This is a serious question. Thornton has 2 years left on his deal. When he signed that, one of the things that he was quoted as saying in the paper was that one of the reasons why aside from his beautiful house and this beautiful weather and this beautiful state, one of the reasons that he said he signed here is because Marlowe also got a deal done at the same time. He wanted to stay. He wanted to remain playing with Marlowe.
Right.
So both him and Marlowe have 2 more ironclad no-move clauses. What would it be like if after the season, because of Wilson sticking his foot in his mouth as hard as he did, it seems to be kind of a belief from some of the things that I've heard, whether it was on NHL Network or whatnot, the team is not a fan of Wilson at this point. What if Thornton and Marlowe call Plattner in the offseason after this season is over and say, you know what, we really love it here, we really want to be Sharks, we want to finish our career here, these last 2 years we're going to play our ass off for, but we can't play our ass off for Doug Wilson. How awesome would it be if somehow Thornton and Marlowe forced Plattner's hand to fire Wilson, just based on the ridiculous contracts that Wilson gave them? Because we all know Wilson loves to hand out no-trade clauses like a mom on handing out candy on Halloween.
It's true.
I don't know about all those.
Uh-oh. I think Chris just died. I'll pick up from here. It would be interesting if Joe were to come up on there and say something. That same thing with Patty. My thing that I was just going to mention to you beforehand was, okay, we're going to say scratch Scott Hannon, put the younger guys out. Well, here's the other thing too. If we're going to be age biased, then would you have the cojones to scratch Marlowe and Thornton because they're getting up in age? I mean, tet for a tet, right? Even though Hannon's ability is a lot more craptacular than Thornton. So.
I agree with you, but I just, yeah, we can see you, we just can't hear you, bro.
Okay.
So,
well, can you hear me now?
There you go. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's a
so here's the thing. I would actually disagree with you strongly. I'm not going to call those 2 contracts bad because of the no movement clause. Because here's the thing. If you're giving a 3-year contract and you want to move him 1 year in, the problem's not the no movement clause. The problem is just you, the person who gave it, period. Because if you want to move a guy 1 year into that deal, then what the hell were you doing in the first place?
Well, here's the thing with Wilson is that I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. Look with his thing, and let's think about this and stretch this out. Wilson drafted poorly. And we've talked ad nauseum about how he can't draft defense, but also look at the forwards. Look what he had to trade to get try to get the missing piece years ago, or look at he gave and Jay Barabal to get Bill Guerin. That first became David Backes. The following year, we tried to get Soupy. We sent a first in Bernier over to
yeah, what a great fucking deal that was.
Yeah, well, you add that on to the first and Matt Carl and who else? Ty Wiesert, and you gave up like 5 assets to get Dan Boyle. I mean,
that one was absolutely
great. trade.
That was absolutely worth it.
So
Yeah,
you gave
completely
the
worth it.
parts to get a rental player and Dan Boyle. You gave
This
3 first rounders. You gave up 3 first rounders for a defenseman that isn't exactly the greatest defenseman in the world. Sure, he got a lot of points on the blue line. However, he's a liability on the blue line.
You know
I
what?
mean,
That's something that we actually need to get into when we do a Pucknology After Dark. Once the season's over, once the Stanley Cup's been handed out, we need to do a Pucknology After Dark, maybe a day or two before the trade, before Free Agent Frenzy on July 1st, and get into a strict Pucknology episode where we just discuss the moves that have been made under Doug Wilson's tenure. Trading Kiprasov, and it's a hard thing to do because of all the things. You trade a pick and a player to Team A to get a player back, and then the pick that you traded to Team B, they use that pick in another. They trade it in another transaction. So now your pick that went from Team B to Team C, and then it's just hard
Which all
to.
gets incredibly complicated and difficult to get, which is probably why we should actually have stuff prepared in advance.
That's why I'm giving us like a 3-month window to do this. But yeah, we
believe it or not, we actually do prepare for these things. On the subject of off-season stuff, because we've been discussing this since basically the Sharks are probably not making. Other than Eric, I think we all agree the Sharks are not making the playoffs, but we are looking to do some shows focused on Worcester, focused on the draft, and all that in the off season. So and hopefully get guests who know about those topics a little bit more than the three of us do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially the first. We're going to discuss bringing on tweeters and people that follow us or whatnot that want to be involved in the show. I would honestly say that the first one that we have to bring on, like we've had Brody, and oh my God, thank you so much, dude. That was one of the coolest things ever. Shalana, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully in the future, probably not this season, maybe the beginning of next season. We'll shoot for the Stars and Kevin Kurz. Maybe we'll try to get like a really hot chick to be on the show at the same time, so Kevin will be enticed to come on. What, too soon? No. Or Ross McKeon, that would be really cool. Wow, you're really late with that.
Let's have Kevin Kurz on and let us argue about the merits of John Scott. Oh, wait, no.
Right?
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Probably Andrew from the bench, because I'd love to, because that motherfucker will go 10 minutes talking about Burns at forward. But I think, we should definitely get a couple of our hardcore followers on here, and numero fucking uno has to be Generation X-Wing. Between the fucking Photoshop shit that he's done, some of his hilarious questions, and right now he is on fire. He is saying, no way was the payment for Dan Boyle worth it. No way. Get me on the damn show, damn it. 140 isn't enough for my rant. So he has run out of characters while using the word damn twice. That's how hardcore he is. Maybe he has an aversion to the word fuck. I don't know. But either way, the dude is on fire. So he will probably be our first Twitter guest, if you will.
Other Twitter guest probably would be Eric Landy, who I hung out with in San Diego actually over the weekend.
There you go.
Thank you for buying me the beer there, Eric.
We'll talk about it during the off season once we get back up during the regular season, for sure.
You know what? I have the perfect idea. This is so hockey of us. We're going to have the NHL hands out suspensions. We're going to have the NHL wheel, and we're just going to put all of the Twitter's names on there, and we'll just spin the wheel and see what happens.
You have like the Twitter lottery there. So basically, we'd spin it, and it would land on Edmonton Oilers every single time. Give me my sound effect. Come on. No.
Really? I thought it would be Buffalo.
Sorry.
I thought it would be Buffalo.
Wait, has Buffalo won anything ever? I mean, other than like this bad snowstorm lottery, that's about the only thing they've ever gotten.
Well, they went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row.
Yes, that was good.
True.
It really was.
That's true. With that, let's take it to the tweets.
Oh shit, we have tweets.
We have tweets. And whoa, somebody farted. Here. No Generation X-Wing or Chester Chiva comments tonight. That was 35 minutes ago. So, Generation X-Wing, minutes after that, said the most important Sharks tweet of the night will be when Bakes tweets his French toast recipe. Absolutely, I'm waiting for that. So, Bakes, if you're watching, know about this delicious thing that Randy was talking about tonight. Eric Landy says, not to mention their pro scout, Wallin, Colin White, Jim Vandermeer, free agent signings bad. Again, we're catching up on everything the Sharks have ever done, free agent-wise, down the road. It's not just Doug Wilson, because maybe outside Rob Blake is pretty much the only pickup the Sharks have ever had. Free agency-wise. They've never done anything free agency-wise, which is pretty bad. Generation X-Wing again says you can't say he's consistent and then also say he hasn't. No, my point is that he's being so consistent, he's allowed to have a day off or a bad game, I should say.
Because he's so damn awesome, that's why.
Exactly. Eric Landy was just making the point, have a no movement clause. Afterwards, he came and sat down to the AHL. They're the only ones okay to okay the move. Yeah, unlike former general manager Mike Milbury, who was mentioning on NBC earlier a couple weeks ago, saying that he should go down to the AHL and shut himself, which I kind of
one of the all-time dumbest comments still.
Right.
That's actually a good point to bring up. What have you guys thought this season about pregame live bringing in guys from NBC Sportsnet, whether it's Roenick or Eddie or Keith tonight? They had Keith on. I really like that. I enjoy getting the national perspective, or at least should I say the East Coast bias perspective. I kind of like it. What on occasion? I don't want to have it every pregame, but once out of every 5 games would be cool.
But it's nice to have them. I mean, they brought in Roenick, they brought in Jonesy a lot before. They've brought Milbury in occasion. I mean, it's nice to have because it's refreshing. Because you could go on about how Ronnie will talk about it, or Hetty, or McLaren tonight, or when Ross McKeon comes on. But yeah, that's great. They're all local. They're also maybe former Sharks and stuff. But to have that different perspective, I mean, I wish that they could possibly, get Bob McKenzie, because while hockey is pretty rough in the States, it's super rough and Bob's been there for forever, and I would like to hear his perspective locally with Brody. I would think that was great. Sporting Agenda, Jenny, she said, actually, we had 4 bruisers, Brown, Torres, Scott, and McGinn. Well, that's true, although granted, Torres has, been SOL with I believe. Oh, and Dave Buccio, sadly, Doug Wilson is that GM that never likes to make big moves on trade deadline day in July.
Yeah, Eric, dude, you need to reboot or something, because we're getting every 10th word. Yeah, it's a lot of that, dude. But
yeah, I think you need to plug in or something.
Yeah, dude, power up.
Wi-Fi might be stretching a bit here.
Yeah.
You want to continue with the tweets there, AJ? Because I'm having issues with Twitter.
I mean, he pretty much covered them all, but it did bring up a couple things to me. First off was, they've had today. We saw good old, hip check McLaren come in, or I should say, butt check McLaren on the pregame show. Usually we get Curtis Brown. Well, it's glad.
Who looks like he's
happy to
perpetually stoned.
Oh, it does, and happy to see that Eric knows how to mute. Curtis Brown, whatnot. It's all good. But yeah, McLaren. Yeah, he looks like he should be like Jay and Silent Bob's like bouncer or something. I mean,
like, dude, yeah, hockey and stuff, bro.
Exactly, dude.
that shit is dang, brah.
That shit is wicked, brah. But you know what? The thing that kind of makes me, with all that, it makes me wonder, why isn't Owen Nolan on there? I mean, not to say that he hasn't been invited and turned it down, but it just does make me wonder. Like, he's probably the most, aside from obviously one of the guys that is currently working for the Sharks, and Mike Ricci, a guy who isn't working for them, Owen Nolan. I'm surprised that, being one of the most beloved former Sharks, I wonder if he was asked and turned it down, or they just didn't reach out to him, whatever the case may be. Because I even remember a couple times when Mark Smith came in late at the end of one season, and he was really good. I thought he was pretty personable. Not like that is one of the fun things about seeing athletes go on to try the TV medium, because and I think we might have talked about it before, but like Deion Sanders, Michael Irvin, Jerry Rice, they're awful speakers. They can't speak. They might have good insight. They can't vocalize it. They sound like idiots, because their speech just isn't correct. And we've talked about it before, whereas you had guys like Brent Jones, really good guy when he started doing post-game stuff and analyst type stuff after he was done with the game. Joe Montana, by far one of the worst to try to do analysis. I remember watching him on CBS. What did you think, Joe? Yeah, that was a good game. I mean, holy crap. It was awful.
Stuff and football cliches. I mean, they may have asked him, I don't know, or maybe his asking price is high, or maybe he just
that could be
because he's got all his businesses here in San Jose to run. I think I think it was his Las Gas Brewing Company, a few other things he's doing. So I mean, I would I'm not going to suggest it's for because he's not good enough at it, because it seems to me. Nothing against some of the guys on there, but definitely some of them are not particularly great at TV.
Yeah, they're not great. But I would be interested in hearing what Owen had to say. But he doesn't need the money. But the one thing I also did want to point out, Brody, Brazil, we got nothing but love for you, baby. You came on. You said you were going to try to do 20 minutes with us. You did 2 hours. You are one of the best at what you do when it comes to the pregame TV stuff, postgame intermission stuff. You're funny, you're entertaining. Dude, I got to say, lost a scotch of respect for you the way that you sucked up to NHL ties in the just as pregame started. You tweeted out a photo that your dimple was on point and correct. You had an hour to get that shit just right so you could take the photo. And then you're going to start taunting NHL ties. A little bit. Come on. You're better than that, Brody. You're better than that.
Did we get a tweet?
Wow, it appears Eric's correction. Eric's connection has not corrected itself.
So
those poor guys.
NHL ties, another person we'd like to get on as a guest one of these times. We'll see about that. So yeah,
I think we can have him on as. Oh man, did shit just get creepy for a second? I think we can have. Never make that fucking face again, Eric. I think we can have NHL ties on in a few weeks, like maybe to end the season, and we'll all wear ties again, and he can or she. I'm not really sure, but he or she.
It is. If you saw the article. It's a guy who worked in the fashion industry, I think it said, and his wife who do it. Also, I believe Anna.
I was gonna say he or she or they. I don't want to piss off anybody on purpose. or I should say on accident. I piss people off on purpose all the time. So, but no, I think we can get NHL ties on. I'm thinking, maybe a week or two after the season's over, we can do the. In fact, you know what? I already have it in my head. This is a great show. The moratorium, the eulogy at the very end of the season. We all wear ties, black shirts. The tie. It'll be perfect. That's what we're gonna have NHL ties on. We got to work on that.
Yep. And
Well,
I think with that, let's toss it over to Eric to finish up here.
Well, I would have said we might as well just wear like black armor if it's a moratorium, since it just destroys everything. No, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, no, that might be good. Or I'm just, if that's the case, I'll just get like a cardboard cutout of John Tatora's head, since he clearly destroys everything.
I'm writing your checks. All right. Well, considering that I think you guys pretty much covered it while I was trying to figure out stuff. Any last-minute thoughts? Last-second thoughts?
I think that's what that was.
Well, dear God, take a lozenge. Okay, so we got the Pennsylvania teams this weekend.
There
No.
will probably be no show on Saturday because both me and AJ are doing stuff. Eric may put something together. We'll see.
And Sunday, maybe not so much either. Depends on what the time is. But it's the Pittsburgh teams. Let's just call a spade a spade. The season's over and done with. I believe about a week ago or so, just when they started this road trip, that I had predicted that they would be mathematically eliminated by April 1st, I want to say. And at this point, it might...
You're right on pace because I believe their tragic number, quote unquote, is 9 at the or. I'll have to double check that, but I know it was 10 a couple days ago, so I think it's either 8 or 9.
And how many are left on the road trip? Just the 2 in Pennsylvania?
Yep. So if they lose both of those, that'll take 2 off their tragic number. So, and that's assuming if Calgary keeps winning, yeah, they could actually be eliminated by April 1st.
Wow. Okay. Well, and I guess
Calgary 2 losses from the Sharks.
We'll see what happens going into Colorado on the home game on the 1st, on April Fool's Day, and how prophetic would it be for them to be eliminated on April Fool's Day?
Right, and speaking of which, we'll take a look at the standings right now. This is assuming, and I believe it's gone final, with Winnipeg shocking Montreal. The Sharks are now sitting 10 points back behind Winnipeg in the wild card, 8 points back of current LA because of their win tonight. They're at 88 points, so they leapfrog Calgary again. Calgary is now on the outside looking in, just 1 point out with the same amount of games left. Dallas is still trying to hang around in it too, but they might be. I know. I'm just looking at it with what we got. Come on now. But Dallas is struggling with having been banged up. Calgary, maybe it's time. They might be finally slowing down. Colorado, I think, is pretty much done. It's basically about LA, getting them out, getting, I guess, Calgary and Winnipeg back in. It would mean 5 Canadian teams would be making the playoffs after, I think just one last year. And that was I should get a prize for that. Thank you. So you have the back-to-backs, Philly on Saturday morning. We won't have a show for that. Sunday, we will have some type of show. Generation X-Wing is saying we should get Shalina back. We'll certainly ask. It's a weekend, so we should be able to get Gentry. We can have a big old roster, and especially if Rowdy wants to come back, come on back. So with that being said, Sharks win 6-4. Patrick Marleau with a 2-goal night. We are still looking promising. So until next time.
Wait. You said Shalina might be on?
No, Generation X-Wing was saying, bring Shalina back this weekend.
Oh, okay, that might be cool, but we'll have to change the opening theme song.
Yo, tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Don't tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Don't tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I wanna
Kill it!
Yeah, seriously, turn that shit off before I mute you or even eject you.
Right? I mean, that's just wrong. No, because this is still the theme song. 1 down, 8 to go. It has been done before. We could do it again. Let's go for the Pennsylvania sweep and then start scaring the hockey world one more time. So for AJ Strong, Chris JWS, Gentry Alexander, who started his new job today, congratulations, Notch Bro. I am Puck Guy 14, here to say keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Wait, let me get this one last song in here. If I can be wants to load it up. No, it's not going to do it for me.
Fail.
Fail, as usual,
So,
like the Sharks tonight.
Be sure to subscribe below. Have a good night, everyone.
Go Sharks!